All right, I want to make a tutorial for the proposal of the annotated bibliography. So as I said before, I did not want students to have the proposal before you found your sources or your citations, because this annotated bibliography is all about your educational experience. So you do not get this video or the proposal prompt until I have seen at least four sources. So at least four sources, and one of them has to be that academic source that looks into your background, like growing up in substance abuse or growing up in a smaller town, or any of that, one of those academic sources that really looked at and helped you grasp part of your identity. All right, so if you have those, then let's look at this annotated bibliography proposal. All right. So it looks like a lot, but it's really not. You just choose one question per group here. So it goes into how the Cornell University defines inclusive learning. Inclusive learning just means I'm included in my educational experience, right? Inclusive learning environments are ones in which students feel that their contributions and perspectives are equally valued and respected. An environment where all students, regardless of their social identities, backgrounds, beliefs, feel respected and valued, and one that forms a strong foundation for learning, right? So a strong foundation for learning. So along with the annotations, along with the sources that you looked up, so you've already looked up all these sources, excuse me, at least four of them. These questions are meant to help students understand their identity in academia, in the classroom, in academic, excuse me. So after students have summarized sources, uh, that help them understand their academic identities. After you've summarized your sources, they will apply those sources to one question per group of the proposal questions below, right? So we have these groups. We have these groups. They're in educational background, self-acceptance, and demographic, right? So you choose one question per group to write a 300-word proposal. Now, you're not going group one, group two, group three. It's all together. It's one 300-word proposal. So we don't want educational background, self-acceptance, demographic. You want one full paragraph, where this is not a three paragraph. This is not a three paragraph assignment. It's one paragraph assignment, right? So let's look at these. Look at these groups. So group one is educational background. Right? It asks questions such as, why must students feel welcome, included in the college classroom? That's really broad. I don't really like broad questions like that. But anyway, what are some ways and reasons that we do not feel welcome or have a sense of belonging in the college classroom? And you can I forgot to say this, you can talk about you. So this is really, really important right here. And I skipped right over it. This is incredibly important right here. Students may write in first person about their own journey, or choose third person with specific target audience. So I can talk about me. I can talk about my educational background. I can talk about, did I have a sense of belonging in the college setting? Do I feel included? In the college virtual classroom, even, do I feel included, right? How does your educational background help or hinder your college experience? So you can fill in the you and your when asking yourself these questions. Don't write in the you or your, right? We'll get to that here in just a moment. So how does your educational background, where did you come from? What was your educational background? Right? So look at that. Fill in yourself in these groups, or you can choose a target audience such as young adults or returning college students or older adults. So you can either choose third person, or you can talk about me and my experience and my background. It's completely up to you. All right, the second group, so I'm just going to choose one. So I'm going to go through and say, okay, how does a student's educational background help or hinder their college experience? How do students' parental caregivers involvement or educate help or hinder their college involvement? I'm going to choose this one because my parents were not involved whatsoever in any of my education, right? They didn't help with homework. They didn't, anyway, so I would choose that one. You only have to choose one. I would go through with the highlighter and say, I'm going to choose that one. All right. Group two, You only have two to choose from. Why is a firm found, and they're kind of the same thing. Why is a firm foundation of self-acceptance accompanied by self-reflection important when starting a new season or journey? I like this one a little bit more than I like the second one. It's a little bit more specific, but the other one is just why is a firm foundation of self-acceptance accompanied by self-reflection? So that means I know who I am, I know where I come from, but I'm always reflecting on, am I growing? Is this growth, right? Um, Important in general, like why do young adults need to grasp their identity as they face daily challenges? I kind of like starting this new season or journey. So one is like specific and the other one is in general. So you can choose one of those with self-acceptance. And then the last one is demographic, where I come from. How does a student's hometown or place of home help or hinder their college involvement? How do students' peer groups or friends following help or hinder their college involvement? Does having others from their hometown sitting in the same classroom help? I would choose that one because even though I didn't have friends from my hometown, I had friends in college from other places. Anyway, but how does a student's hometown or place of home form their identities of what college involvement looks like before enrolling it? I would choose that one too. You can choose more than one. But I also remember, saying that I was never going to go to UCO. I don't remember if I told my online students this or not. I probably did, but I went to UCO one time as a Seminole State student, and as I was walking around their campus, and I was a Seminole State student, so it was well before I graduated with my associates. And I remember saying, I will never go to UCO. It's a beautiful, huge university. I don't belong here. Well, years later, I got a master's degree there, and I didn't even remember going there. I went there with the BCM to play volleyball, and I was walking around with the BCM director. And I remember telling him, I'll never go here. And he was like, I don't know why. And I just didn't think I belonged. And again, I ended up getting a master's degree there. And it's a whole story. It's a really neat story that I'll tell you if you want to know, but I don't want to use up too much time on this. But I ended up going to UCO to get a master's because one door after the next opened, and there we go. But I had this idea of college and university just by looking at it and who belongs there, who doesn't belong there, right? And again, I'm going to talk about me. I'm going to talk about my journey. I'm going to talk about my parents. I'm going to talk about my self-acceptance. I'm going to talk about my friends. I'm going to talk about me, right? So you are more than welcome to have a proposal where you are talking about yourself, or you can talk about young adults or older adults or have a specific target audience. But um, you must avoid, this is number 3, you must avoid, words like you, your, yourself, words with no meaning, such as everyone, everybody, people go to college. Let's be specific. Anyway, I'll get to that whenever I get to number 3. All right. So use specific examples from at least 3 of your sources. One example must be from the academic source that examined your identity formation, right? So I talked about how I like to hike. I talked about how I like to bake cinnamon rolls. I talked about how like my favorite song was Times Like These by Foo Fighters. Now, on a lyric that says it's times like these where you learn to live again, it's times like these where you give and give and give, I can definitely bring that back into my self-acceptance idea, right? I can bring my Foo Fighter song into this idea of accepting myself and this journey of hey, you know what? I do like myself. I do accept myself, and I do when I'm stepping into a new season or a new journey, I can step into that with um with courage, right? Because this song helps me understand that in times like these and times like stepping into a new season. So I can bring my song in there is what I'm saying. So we need to have at least 3 annotations or sources. We want to use at least 3 of those. I want to use my coming from, you know, I put coming from, a home with substance abuse and whatnot. I would really find an academic source about overcoming that to help my children. That's the academic source that I would actually find. I'm just always been in a hurry because I'm trying to grade essays also. But the academic source that I want to find about myself is breaking the cycle of abuse and poverty for my children. That's what I would bring in, and that's the source that I must incorporate in this proposal is breaking that cycle of poverty and abuse. And then I'm going to bring in my times like these. I can bring in my again, I can even bring in my my and even in self-acceptance or the caregiver involved. I can even bring in that part of giving out cinnamon rolls or handmade gifts to people in part of my proposal. So, but anyway, so you must use at least 3 annotations or sources. I also want to say before I keep on going, these use specifics, if you have about 4 sources so far and you're going into this, you can look up one more source that helps you answer these questions. I just didn't want them all to help you answer these questions. So if you want to look up a source that talks about, where does a student's home or how does a student's hometown or place of home help or hinder their college involvement? If you want to look up one source and have that in your source list, that's perfectly fine and help you use it in this proposal. You are more than welcome to use one source to help you with these, but I want you to apply the sources to the proposal. I do not want you to apply the proposal to your sources. Your sources are about you. You need to apply you to these questions, not the other way around. So that's why I did not want to give you this until you were done. All right, so use at least 3 of your sources. Discuss the relevancy of your proposal answer. Why is this important? Why is all of this? Is it relevant? Is it relevant or not? Right? And I don't want you to put, yes, it is relevant. Please don't talk to me like I'm sitting there in your essays and your proposals. That is very not academic. That is not an academic way to write. So when you're writing an essay and proposals, you never want to say, yes, this is relevant. I am not sitting with you talking to you. So let's not write that way. That is not a good way to write. All right. So you just want to go into knowing oneself, or when I accept myself starting a new journey, or when young adults accept themselves when starting a new journey, this is a relevant argument because, right? So we don't want to answer, yes, this is irrelevant. We just want to go into this is relevant because, or just talk about the relevancy. You don't even have to say this is relevant, but we want to look at, is this relevant? Is this important, right? Is this important? Is answering these types of questions important? Now, this is what I was talking about a moment ago. Incorporate a target audience while avoiding, we do not want second person you, your, and yourself. So by the time we get here, and I will tell you this also, I'm going to be a little bit mean, but by the time we are at the 3rd writing assignment, and if you are still putting you and your, and if you are still putting contractions in this assignment after I've graded 2 assignments and said no more second person, no more contractions, I will take off a lot. I will take off like 10 points because of your contractions and your use of second person. If you haven't understood that by now, that we do not want second person or contractions, so incorporate, I'm going to put with no meaning, such as everyone and people. Also avoid contractions. Avoid contractions. Also avoid contractions with an exclamation point. So if you're still putting don't instead of do not, and can't instead of cannot, and isn't instead of is not, I will take off a lot of points because you should know that by now. By the time we've talked about it, it means that you're not watching the videos, or it means that you're not practicing, or you're not paying attention. So avoid that second person. Avoid words with no meaning, such as everyone, everybody, people. Be specific. Either talk about I, me, my, or talk about young adults, but be specific and no contractions and no second person. All right, the proposal must be a full page of at least 100 words. This right here is like 465 words. So it's really about 350 is what you need, but this is also not double spaced. So double spaced, proposal must be of 300 words. So I'm going to put double spaced. Right, so we need at least 300 words where you're looking at these ideas. Create a distinctive title, Annotated Bibliography, Importance of Acceptance, right? Let's be a little bit creative with our title. So choose one question per group, write a 350 word proposal. Use about 3 of your sources, at least 3 of your sources. Have a target audience while you're writing it. Discuss, is this relevant? Is this important? And have a nice title to it. Right. So it should be a pretty easy write. It's just one page where you're looking at your educational background, your idea of self-acceptance. Where did you come from? Using 3 of the sources that we looked up, writing one page with a nice title. That's it, right? So get those, hopefully you've gotten your sources in. I was about to say get your sources in. So hopefully you've got your sources in quickly, and hopefully you got your sources in quickly so you can move on to this part. But if students haven't, I'll announce that. All right, so let me know if you have any questions, but this is supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be all about you, where you're just looking at yourself. And so let me know if you have any questions.